Sometimes I feel like discussions about synergies within Honkai Star Rail are confined to a DPS and their best support. Look at Acheron and Xiao Cho, Fei Xiao and Robin, Tribbie, and everyone. But Honkai Star Rail is a game with 4 team members, and all 4 of them have a role to play in covering each other's strengths and weaknesses, creating a 4-way synergy. As such, the question of should I pull or slot an X for Y doesn't really have a consistent answer most of the time, because not only does it depend on the type of enemy you face, but it also depends on who your W and Z members are too. Let's start with the most contentious example. Should I pull Cipher for Acheron? Honestly, it depends. In most cases the answer is yes, at E0, especially in single target scenarios, but let's actually break that down by examining their flaws and checking their ideal 3rd and 4th teammates. Acheron's main problem, mechanically speaking, is that she does almost no damage outside of her ult. This means that if her team is just shy of a kill, everyone has to take a significant AV penalty before their next chance to secure the win, and possibly wasting a lot of overkill damage on top of that. Xiao Cho potentially decreases this downtime by adding more ult stacks based on the enemy's turns. Cipher, on the other hand, decreases this downtime from adding more ult stacks based on her own fast turns, in addition to doing more consistent damage with her follow-up skills and ult, which you can think of as another pseudo-Acheron ult that starts weaker but grows over time. Because her ults need to be saved though, and her non-ult scalings are pretty similar to Moza's, Cipher's main problem is her personal damage, relying on other teammates and to help her finish off weakened mobs and elites, should you plan on squeezing every last bit of utility out of her. This means that Cipher will especially favor teams with AoE ampers, like her fellow Nihilities, harmonies like Tribbie and Robin, who buff the whole team plus add damage to Cipher's actions, and even offensive sustains in certain cases, like Acheron and Hyacine, who add more potential damage to the team. If your AoE Nihility competition is tight for some reason, most commonly in E2 Acheron teams, there is also the possibility to swap out Xiao Cho for the Trend Sustain if enemies perform lots of multi-target attacks. Another thing to note is that if being paired with DPS supports who have significant AoE, mainly Tribbie or Hyacine, she can also take an extra 16% true damage multiplier per additional enemy from their AoE damage, up to 64% for 4 additional enemies, and then unleash that damage as ult damage on one main target. This is of course the best case scenario, and that potential 88% single target multiplier increase in 5 target scenarios is both capped by the mob's HP and requires Cipher's ult to unleash, but it does help illustrate the fact that Cipher plays especially well with Hyacine and Tribbie, should you run them with Acheron or any other DPS you wish. The fact that they have smaller AoE hits that are less prone to overkill certainly helps them more than it helps Acheron, who sees only about a potential 60% single target increase due to her ult multipliers not being true AoE and having a single target bounce attached, while also being more prone to overkill. Whether or not you want E1 Tribbie, who can make that single target multiplier increase as high as 111% without caring about overkill, is its own can of worms, but generally Xiao Cho and Cipher should be better than Xiao Cho and Tribbie for easier Acheron sustained teams thanks to her A4 trace. On another note, a single target buffer like Sunday should still be strong in an Acheron Cipher setup, but because of his energy being wasted on Acheron and Cipher, his lack of personal damage contribution, as well as his buffs only boosting one character at a time, his performance relative to how he usually does might dip slightly in a team with the both of them. Speaking again on Sunday, let's look at another example with him that it highlights the importance of 4-way synergies, swapping him out with Bronya in a Fei Xiao March Robin team, one of Fei Xiao's top sustainless teams. If we were only evaluating how well these single target action advancers pair with Fei Xiao, of course Sunday wins, factoring even Bronya's 30% speed boost. However, in the context of the whole team, Bronya is usually better. For one, he can advance Robin for a guaranteed early ult, whereas with Sunday you need to rely on hit energy or Tribbie's S1 for a turn 1 ult. Ulting Robin with Sunday is possible, but ill-advised outside a last-ditch effort since you waste both the SP neutrality and crit damage buff from his kit. Her own ult also boosts the entire team attack and crit damage, which provides a damage boost not just to Fei Xiao, but for March and Robin as well. Robin in particular being able to hold the attack boost longer due to not consuming any turns for the duration of her ult. The fact that it doesn't have any additional utility attached to its use, like providing energy and SP neutrality with Sunday, actually makes it easier to time with DDD as well, which is a boon in and of itself. And coming back to that 30% speed on Bronya's E2, it allows Eagle Fei Xiao to more easily hit effective 180 speed for 3 turns inside of Robin's ult. In fact, with 2 Eagle procs and a 30% speed boost, Fei Xiao can run base speed and hit a 180 effective still. Very convenient when trying to build her. Of course, this setup wouldn't work if the other teammates didn't help Bronya in return. Bronya is still an SP-hungry character with a very limited buff duration. Luckily, Fei Xiao's ability to hold 2 ults at once lets her more easily time her ults to match Bronya's buffs. Additionally, while she prefers to skill spam, Fei can still basic every once in a while. And of course, March can basic non-stop to fuel Bronya with all the SP she needs. There's also the fact that Bronya doubling Fei Xiao actions for more attacks is directly rewarded by Robin's energy gain and damage procs, which remember is further boosted via Bronya's attack buff. And if you somehow have E4 Bronya or higher versus a win week scenario, even better. Once again, Sunday is still usable as a Bronya substitute and is sometimes even optimal over her for pushing past SP and damage checkpoints in Fei Xiao teams. It's just that at the highest level of play, Bronya is often a better fit for the Fei March Robin core, and it's not just cost chesting. And finally, let's take a look at what many consider to be the best core today: Casterus, Tribbie, RMC, Hyacine. Is Hyacine worth the pull for Casterus teams? I'm inclined to say absolutely, and besides her healing, it's in part because Hyacine herself does a lot of damage. But despite what you might be led to believe, it's not necessarily because Hyacine is a busted DPS on her own. The rest of the team plays a huge part in her damage too. Let's start with team-wide buffs. Casterus actually buffs everyone's res pen by 20% while Netherwing is on the field. This gives Tribbie at least one souped-up follow-up when Casterus uses her ult, and gives a window for Mem and Ika to ult for more damage, a window that can be extended to their naturally fast turns if Netherwing is made to stick around for longer. Tribbie provides a generically useful 25% res pen and 30% vuln, and attaches 1 damage proc and 1.5 energy per enemy hit. With all of RMC's, Hyacine's, and Casterus' AoE attacks, that adds up to a lot of damage. And all that energy can be looped back into more actions via TDD or more ults via her S1, as well as charge for RMC. RMC gives a 50% crit damage buff to the whole team, and can even apply Mem support to multiple members on team at once. Tribbie in particular stands out as the second member due to how slow she is, but boosting Hyacine can be a last-ditch effort to push for damage with a powered-up Ika and Netherwing at the same time. And finally, Hyacine boosts everyone max HP by 30% plus 600, with an additional 20% at the start of battle. Not only does this aid Tribbie and Casterus, who are HP scalers, but Tribbie double dips off of this, as after ulting she gains max HP equal to 9% of all allies' max HP. So already, Hyacine is getting buffed with 25 to 45% res pen, 30% vuln, 50% crit damage, and perhaps even 38% true damage at the last minute should you so choose. Keep in mind that this is all at E0S0. Of course though, her damage buffs don't just stop there. Because Hyacine's damage also scales off of how much she heals, more heals means more damage. And since Hyacine heals per damage instance taken, Casterus' AoE drain triggers an AoE heal from Hyacine, which in turn becomes more damage. RMC having Mem out on the field is also an extra body that can lose HP, and thus an extra body for Hyacine to heal. All of this put together makes Hyacine a great sub DPS, and because of that you probably won't be seeing her hit the numbers she does without structuring your team similarly. Take a look at Fish's Blade RMC Tribbie Hyacine comp for another fun example of this similar 4-way synergy. Just like in the Casterus team, everyone acts as a DPS and support in some capacity. And in fact, the collective synergies, unlocked by having RMC, a Memo Sprite attacker in that slot, make it so that they are a valid choice to substitute Sunday against the Bananas. Before I close this video off, I would like to caution against using these examples to draw certain conclusions, like Cipher is dependent on Tribbie and Hyacine, or Sunday is a Bronya RMC side grade. The points I talked about with each team can drastically change with even a single team member or Lycone replacement, and of course, the fallacious statements I just mentioned above fail to mention all 4 team members as well as the enemy lineup that they face. Overall, this video is meant to illustrate how interdependent all 4 team members are with each other, and how linking all of them properly with each other leads to the creation of meta teams. With all that said, let me know what your favorite 4-way synergy is in the comments, because frankly there's way too many for me to cover them all. Have a great day!